Look at another political development as 3 Republican-led states are going to send hundreds of National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. West Virginia is deploying up to 400 troops, South Carolina is sending 200, and Ohio is dispatching around 150 military police to the U.S. capital city. These deployments follow a request from the Trump administration, which has ordered a federal crackdown on crime and homelessness in the capital. The additional Guard troops come on top of about 800 already activated in D.C., as well as a surge of federal law enforcement. Officials say that the new arrivals will patrol landmarks and help with crowd control. These moves sparked protests in DuPont Circle on Saturday, where demonstrators marched to the White House, holding signs rejecting the recent deployment, which they called a military occupation. We'll listen now to some Washington locals.
Yeah, I personally think it's terrible. It's an overreach of, authority. I think obviously the issue with Washington, D.C. and like how it governs itself has been a very controversial topic for a long time. And this is just another step in what I would like to say is sort of, I guess, a conservative government, overreaching over a very liberal city.
You know, when you have something like that and people get worried, oh, is it really, bad in D.C.? And depending on what kind of news coverage you watch, you might think that things are happening that aren't happening. So, so I think they are doing it under the guise of safety, but in my personal opinion, I think that the D.C. police have it under control, so...
Well, city leaders have criticised the takeover but are legally required to cooperate. President Trump defends the intervention as an emergency response. The crime rates in the city are lower than during his first term. Mark, thank you for staying with us. This is another complex topic, and we heard there one Washington local talking about an overreach. And there is a legal case ongoing with Muriel Bowser's administration within Washington. How do you see this?
It's rather interesting. I always think it has to be put in the context of a discussion over January the 6th, 2021, where before that, President Trump then asked for the National Guard to be deployed. And it's rather interesting when people use this juxtaposition all the time to then for their own political gain. Not in that case. He was then asking for safety. He is concerned, like others are concerned, about the crime rate that is going on within the capital of Washington, D.C. That is what's going on. And also, Josh, as you quite rightly said, just that note then about the fact that you have then Republican president, you then have liberal Democratic mayor, Democratic governance within that, and the president, his administration is not happy with the lawlessness, and they feel that the police need backup within that to then deal with this, and I'm sure in a very short period of time, then the Federal Reserve will then go. We have to remember the history of the Federal Reserve and how and why that was created in regard to defending colonies of 500 years ago, and then creating militias to actually then have the security of the colonies, then of the security of the nation. And this is how it's perceived, because they want tourism, they want the capital of America to look extremely good around the world, and this is a concern. Plus, they're also within the administration then fed up, where they perceive, and I think understandably, if you look at then California at times, and also going back to 2020 and the BLM riots and all the rest, about this whole attitude towards the law, and when on the Democratic side, when people are calling for defunding the police and all this. Now, that may have been 5 years ago, but it's the ethos, it's the ideology of thinking that still permeates, and that is quite a rub for Trump's administration. George.
Yes, and of course, some context on these figures. As we've mentioned, current crime rates lower than in Trump's first term. In 2023, crime rates in Washington, D.C. were some of the highest in the country, but those have dropped by between 20 and 30% year on year until now. So there is a question being raised about this emergency situation that Trump has spoken about. But very quickly, Mark, before we do wrap up this discussion, 800 troops already in place in Washington, D.C. 400, 200, 150. We're looking at over 1,500 troops that there or thereabouts that will be placed within Washington, D.C. In your opinion, is this an overreach?
I'm not on the ground, and as you quite rightly pointed out, there are statistics, but I think this is a very, very important point that the Trump administration are trying to make. They are concerned about the perspective of the capital around the world, and they want people to be able to come to the capital. But of course, it's the seat of political power, and then to feel reassured by that, and also to then feel that they are participating. The issue is people are allowed to demonstrate as long as it's peacefully, and to make their voice heard. That is the fundamental of the Constitution of the United States. So you've got two sides here, two views to this. Whether it's an overreaction, of course, the other side that disagree with this will be saying. But of course, on the other side, the president will be turning around and saying, no, I don't think it is. I'm concerned about the crime. I want to bring that down. And just remember also, one of his dear friends is Giuliani, who used to be mayor of New York. Yes. So he has that constantly in his mind as well. Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely. Mark Sutherland, as always, it is such a pleasure. Thank you for your insight on both of those topics. Both topics we will continue to monitor.